to another episode of the DC Comics Chronicles. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and with me is my co-host, the Emerald enthusiast himself, Donnie. Donnie, how's it going?
What's up, DC fans? It's the Daddy Saur, the Uncosaurus, who is here to chase you through the DC universe. It's the Emerald enthusiast.
There's a reason he's bringing up dinosaur references.
And you have to stick around to the end to know what that means.
Yeah, and it's not because he is a fan of the AEW wrestler Luchasaurus. Just as a spoiler.
Although I am. So.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with why he chose that intro.
But when you're a dad and an uncle, you know, one of the things that kids like you to do, especially when you're a big guy, is to chase them. So and pretend like you're some kind of monster.
Yeah, and also dad jokes. So there you go.
Yes.
You may be confused if you're watching the video version of this. Mm-hmm. Not by Donnie's background, because it's the same all the time. It's his wonderful, wonderful collection of Green Lantern goodies. But my background, as you can see, is the Flash. And the last time I used this background on a vidcast, it was because we were reviewing an episode of The Flash. But that's not what we're doing. We are, as I said, doing the DC Comics Chronicles, which means we are reviewing those wonderful things called comic books. The source material for the movies and television that we love. So, with that being said, Donnie, what are the comic books that we will be discussing today?
We are going to start with Batman Detective Comics number 1034.
It's a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, that's the thing with a lot of reboots and restarts and crossovers. You don't get a lot of comics that they have let continue to 1,000. You know, you constantly see the low numbers.
I'm glad they didn't screw up they went back to the number.
Yeah.
To the original number. I'm so glad about that.
Mm-hmm. And this is writer Mariko Tamaki and art by Dan Mora, colors by Jordi Belair. And I got to point out here, the lettering is actually particularly good. And I'm sorry if I butcher this name, Aditya Bidikar, who does some really outstanding lettering in this issue. So,
right, yeah. My first thought before we get into the actual interview, when I read the Jordi Belair name. Now I know her from. She currently writes Buffy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Remember the comic series?
Yeah.
For Boom Studios, so I know who she is. But I was wondering, I wonder if she's related to Bianca Belair from WWE. Probably not. But I just thought.
Maybe not, but hey, maybe she'll show up at WrestleMania. Hey, she'll do a run-in.
Yeah, exactly. Steel Chair, where's JR when we need him? Somebody needs if those wrestling cameo things weren't as expensive as they are, I'd get JR to do like an intro for us.
Right.
That'd be hilarious. But yeah, all right, so that was my random reference for the day. But yeah, so what happens in this issue, Don? Get us started.
Well, it opens up in Gotham City, the City Hall district, and we see this big shindig that is happening.
Yeah.
And it is crashed. We see now, for those of you, if you're joining us for the first time, Batman is operating in a different way. He doesn't have as much money as he usually does. Mm-hmm. He's operating out of these kind of mini bat caves around the city. Yeah. And then suddenly this party is attacked by a group called the Party Crashers, which is very fitting.
Very apropos, yeah, I was going to say.
Now, they stuck around. Weren't their first appearances in Joker War?
Indeed yeah. It was. Indeed it was. They're remnants of the Joker War, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, they're not particularly adept.
No.
Yeah.
Batman makes short work of them, for sure.
Yeah. And you can even see as soon as Bruce is able to slip away and make the change into the costume, one of the Party Crashers looks and is like, crap.
I knew this was a bad idea.
Yeah, this was a bad idea. Of course, you know, Batman crashes in and he's like, party's over. So I didn't mean to sound like Macho Man. Party's over. That's
my Christian Bale gravelly voice, yeah. Or Ben Affleck synthesizer, whichever you prefer.
Yeah. So yeah, he makes short work of them, and yeah, I really like that. Like I said, I like that opening scene. So
the visual on it, I mean, that's great art. And I got to give props to Dan Mora because I know him from Power Rangers. He's worked on Power Rangers books before, and he's a great artist. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then we see Bruce actually talking about the series of micro bat caves that have been placed throughout the city.
He's in the sewer, right? In one of them.
Yeah, he's actually in the sewer, and he says, I've had to diversify in his methods of crime fighting. And he mentions a do-it-yourself cave. Yeah. And you see that not only is he logging hours as Batman, he's also doing a lot of building for these caves. And really great art here. And what you're seeing here are Bruce's thoughts. He says, since my access to the Wayne fortune is limited, after 3 days of digging, I now know I've never understood what it truly means to work in a cave, because he looks absolutely exhausted. And he's doing this all himself. That's what I like about this. So,
yeah. No, it really is. Probably from the first time since, year one or 0 year when he found the cave and transformed it into the Batcave, that this is the most hardcore kind of manual labor that he's had to do, I would assume.
And you see that his back hurts, his hands hurt, as is what happens when you're doing a lot of like digging and things like that.
And by the way, just in case anybody gets any ideas, just because the book says do it yourself caves or whatever, Stephen, that doesn't mean that you can get any ideas.
I wouldn't try it.
You're still the Alfred of the podcast, and so don't get any ideas if you hear this segment. Mind you, that's why Tom King is not here, because he may kill you off if he was. So we'll keep Tom King away from the podcast. Anyway, I really like that. That it really shows the effect. I mean, if Batman living in a brownstone didn't do it for you, him having to work and do manual labor in the sewer will definitely drive the point home. And also, the fact that one of the micro caves is in the sewer officially makes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Batman crossover canon, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like that idea. So, then the scene cuts to Fort Gray, and you talk about him not living anymore in Wayne Manor. In this one, now fill me in on exactly what happened with Wayne Manor before the last few issues.
Well, essentially, it's because the family. He could live there. I mean, it's not like I'm sure. Well, he would have enough money to stay there, or at the very least, Lucius would spot him some cash to cover the expenses of living in a manor. Because at the end of the day, he after Joker took over the funds, when he got them back, he transferred them to Lucius.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So Lucius could easily help him out.
Okay.
He moved out of the manor more so because every time he was in there, it reminded him of the loss of Alfred, the one parental figure he had left.
Yeah.
And so he said, I need a clean break. I got to go back to basics, and that's why he moved out of the manor.
Right. Okay. Well, we see here that he ends up at another party, and this is actually at this was it an apartment building or that he lives at. He goes to a party with Lydia. So again, more great art here. You can feel this party, and you can feel that Bruce. It's for the first time living in Wayne Manor. He's always been isolated. Now he actually has neighbors.
Yeah,
so
which would be an interesting development for him, because I don't think he likes personalizing with too many people. If you're not a Robin or one of the Bat family, he really doesn't want to. It's like he's really uncomfortable, and you can see it.
Yeah. I
do like the way Dan Mora draws Bruce with some scruff on his face.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. It gives you this idea that he's so busy that he doesn't always have time to like do all the personal grooming things.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no.
yeah,
I dug the little bit of detail there. Yeah.
yeah. And I like that I mentioned the lettering and stuff and all the little exposition boxes. You see these little bats behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how that was done too.
Oh no, it was very well done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The detail is incredible.
Yeah.
But and then let's see what happens.
Well, you see that Bruce, he mentions he was like, there's something bigger than the Joker waiting.
Yeah. And it's funny because at the same time as he's thinking that, he realizes that his neighbor's been taken.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And we see a mysterious figure in one of the sewer systems. I think it is.
Yeah.
It looks like a sewer anyway.
Yeah.
Did they give a
he's
name?
definitely down in the sewer with his hands and arms covered in blood.
Yeah. And did they give a name to this character?
No, it looks a little bit like a much older version of Bruce.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is.
But I mean that. Yeah, yeah. You just see this character walking through the sewer. So
yeah, so he looks like to be a big a big threat that they're setting up in this arc.
Yeah.
And between what they've been doing in Batman and now this book, I like that they're bringing in some new villains.
That's a good point.
I really think. I know we're going to see some classics, which is also good, but a good mix I think is healthy for not just Batman, but for any character. I think it's good to always add to the tapestry of characters. So so I'm looking forward to see what this
you've got to stay fresh, and I know a lot of veteran fans like myself who have been reading for years or decades, and comics that long, they get used to a certain flavor and they don't want to change. Well, comics always have to change. They have to bring in new readers, but
real life also changes too. You meet new people, in real life. So why wouldn't comics reflect that?
No,
So,
that's a good point. You've got to have some staples, but at the same time, you've got to introduce some fresh takes and fresh characters. So
like I have some core people that I can't stand. They'd be my villains per se. They're largely on the internet, and they usually have something associated with their name. I won't say what it is, but I digress. So the letters AP usually attributed to some of these people. But anyway, no. But the point is, it's kind of reflecting real life, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see if a relationship, be it more of a friendship or something romantic, if his neighbor survives, develops between Bruce and his neighbor.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I know that for some people, Batman and Catwoman is the end game, but
Batcat forever.
it would bring me some joy to see Bruce get into a relationship with some new person, just because I know there's somebody that I used to podcast with that would seethe at just the mere idea. As I was reading that panel where she hugged Bruce from behind, I'm like, my former co-host who made life miserable for me would really be agonizing right now. Just this panel, like he'd probably throw the book out. And so
I like. She's very enthusiastic. She's an interesting character.
What was her name? Do we have a name on her? Because
it was Sarah, wasn't it?
Yeah, I see a nice homegrown, classical name. Where I'm not saying that Batman's love interests have had weird names. Like Selina's a fairly normal name, but Silver St. Cloud. Vesper Fairchild, Vicky Vale. I'm gonna be honest. They sound like a cross between strippers and porn star. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, it seems like Bruce has a type, and it was going along. So seeing him get together with the Sarah, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, so different. Getting together with the girl next door.
You go with the wild, 1 minute, a couple of months you're with the wild ones, the porn stars and the strippers, and then the next 6 months of the year you settle down with a nice homegrown class. It's a good variety. Like I said, variety. Variety is the spice of life, folks. That's all I'm saying. Oh, great.
The bottom line is, no relationship is going to work out for Bruce Wayne in the end. It's just not going to happen. But it's nice when
aside.
It's nice when he grabs a few moments of happiness. So.
Exactly, just a bare minimum. Nothing to make him retire or anything, but just So I guess we can rate this issue then.
There's also a backup story we should mention.
That's right. Sorry, I forgot about
the Demon or Detective. And this is a story that features Talia al Ghul and her son. I can't believe Damien. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name because Damien kind of irritates me. But
you would take offense to that.
That being said, there is a character who shows up at the end of this that is one of my all-time favorites. But I do want to say in this story, and it's very short. Again, it's a backup story.
Yeah.
I really like the art style.
It definitely fits the character of Damien. And this is going to be the creative team, Joshua Williamson, who was on The Flash for years, and did a fantastic job on The Flash, I might add. But Joshua Williamson and the artist whose name is escaping me are going to be the main artists on the Robin book. Mm-hmm. Which I think to see this story play out, we may have to cover for a bit, Donnie.
Well, I will say this. Like I said, Damien is not a favorite character of mine, but I have liked these two backup stories that I've read with him.
No, but to see the specific character that you are going to mention.
Oh yeah.
We're going to have to cover the Robin book at least for a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes around, but. I really like the idea that there is a splinter, like there's a splinter cell within the, or maybe there's three. I think there might be three.
Yeah, they mention
within the League of Assassins.
The Demon's Head Empire had three classes: the Leagues of Shadows, Assassins, and Lazarus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that because it makes sense that in these crazy cult-like individuals their ideologies would split and they'd go, their separate ways.
Yeah.
It's like NWO black and white, NWO red and black, right?
Right.
With the Wolf Pack, right? And then what was the third one? When they united and it was like a mix of all three, of all of the other two.
Well, there was the LWO, but we're not.
That's right. Latino World.
Yeah. I thought they were great. I really didn't like how that ended with Ric Flair just coming out and saying, "Here, give me the shirts" or whatever. But anyway, I digress. We're not talking about wrestling right now. But you see that Damien, he gets in this helicopter with his mother, and she was like, it's time for you to choose your life path, that of the demon or the detective. What's it going to be? So, and I really, really like. And
he doesn't give her an answer. He just leaves the helicopter.
Yeah, he just kind of jumps. He jumps out of the helicopter. So.
But you know what? The way she says, "Oh, you're not. I'm going to treat you like. If you join me, I'm going to treat you like an assassin, not like my son." No wonder this kid's so screwed up in the head.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, think about this. Batman is his most stable parental figure.
Which should tell you something right there.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
What did we expect from this poor kid?
So before the story ends, though, we go to Parts Unknown, where the Ultimate Warrior is from.
I was going to say, there was an Ultimate Warrior comic, which
yes, I read a few issues. Yeah.
It wasn't very good, but the art was great.
Yeah, the art was great. Yeah, so. And it says the League of Lazarus has returned, and we learn about this tournament that's about to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the tournament feels to me like it's not like just like the way they're discussing it. It's kind of like a hybrid of Fight Club meets Mortal Kombat, and I kind of like that.
Yeah. And we learned that the participant that the League of Lazarus is going to send after to the tournament and presumably confront Damian Wayne is none other than Connor Hawke. Yes. Yeah. An old running buddy of Kyle Rayner, my favorite DC character. I'm really happy to see Connor back. So,
and wasn't it thought that he was dead? Wasn't that the prevailing, you know?
Yeah, I think the last time I've checked, I have not seen him in quite some time.
Yeah. So it makes sense that he would hook up with the League of Lazarus. You know, resurrection, the whole 9 yards, you know, the whole biblical aspect of that.
Yeah.
That made sense that he would be their fighter. And just to be clear, he's the son of
Oliver Queen.
Oliver Queen.
Yes. I like the line, what better way to take out a robin than with a hawk? I love it.
I mean, the bird metaphors, when you got him, use him, right? So, yeah, no, I like seeing him back. And I'm fascinated by what this tournament could end up being. And I hope that whatever happens doesn't lead to Connor Hawke going away or being disposed of again.
I'd like to see him stick around for a while, obviously.
Yeah, so. Like maybe Robin comes to his senses and maybe him and Connor team up for a bit. Or, you know, he eventually ventures back to go have a interaction with Oliver. Like, by the way, I'm so glad that Oliver is in the Justice League now, and he's kind of like the leader of this iteration. But I still would like to see Oliver in his own book again.
Well, they definitely still need to, DC, I mean, they need to capitalize on this popularity that Oliver has coming off of the Arrow show.
Yeah.
That character's never been more visible than it is now.
Like I said, now would be a great time to have him in a book. And maybe it's that it could be an interesting book if they went with the dynamic of Oliver, Dinah, the daughter, you know, remember the daughter from the multiverse, the daughter that was their daughter but from the multiverse, and then Connor. I mean, if they were all in a book together, that would be like the Arrow, like Team Arrow, but the real, you know, a legitimate version of Team Arrow, not having a Felicity in there and this person and that person and everybody else in between. But like that kind of idea, I think would make a cool book. So. Hope that kind of thing happens, and hope Connor sticks around. But it's great to have him back.
Yeah. Well, you know, you and I have talked a lot. You know, we're both huge fans of these 90s characters like, you know, Wally, Connor, obviously Kyle, and we like those team-ups back in the day. So, yeah.
All right, so I guess we could rate this thing then, right?
Yeah.
So, remember, 5 for story and 5 for art. So what do you think?
I'm going to say 4.5 for story. I like what they're setting up here, and I'm going to say probably 5 for art. It definitely matches the tone that I would think of Batman in this scenario. So,
yeah, for an introductory kind of setup story, I really dug it. It's again reaffirming Bruce's new status quo. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 on the story front. And the art front is going to get a 5 for sure. It was beautifully drawn, and the splash pages of Batman, you know, leaping down and getting the party crashers was pretty fantastic. So yeah, that's my rating.
You know, I realize they may not be the most impactful villains, but I like the visuals of the party crashers. So
yeah, for sure.
So then we move on to Batman Superman number 16. Yeah. And this is really interesting. The way they did most of this story is you see like two overlapping film strips.
Yeah.
Not overlapping, but one at the top of the page, one at the bottom of the page. But these overlapping stories.
Yeah.
And it says Superman, the world of tomorrow, and Batman, the world of the night. Night as in Knigt.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Very interesting in the way that it plays out, because you see the contrast between Superman's, kind of bright and colorful world and Batman's kind of dark, grim, realistic world.
Indeed.
So,
indeed.
yeah, what did you think of that, style?
I think that was one of the most clever things I've ever seen. The writer and artist have said that that's a nod to the classic, film serials back in the day, that kind of thing. And I think it's an inventive way to visually tell the story. So I honestly hope that continues for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, and these seem to be two versions of the characters. You see Superman in his classic costume, one that's based off of the 1938 costume, and Batman seems to be wearing, a Golden Age type of costume as well.
Yes. It's funny because Superman's got the costume that he had on. It's made its live action sort of debut recently in Superman and Lois in the first appearance, which I was like, oh, I just love this costume. To me, I love it. And then Batman's got it looks like a hybrid, Donnie, of his Golden Age first appearance costume meshed with what Robert Pattinson's going to wear in the Batman. It kind of looks like a hybrid of the two. And I was like, you know what? I dig it. Bring it on. Go for it. Seeing the two characters in those classic costumes with such great art by, I think, Ivan Reis, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with his art.
Oh, definitely not.
But this is a multiverse kind of tale. This isn't the Batman and Superman of modern day. Clearly.
Yeah, they're definitely taking you back here, and you can tell just by the visuals that this is, again, these are kind of based on the classic itinerations of the characters. So interesting. You see Superman attacked by somebody, and he's like, "I'm the unknown wizard," and I was like, "That's Lex Luthor."
When I saw his bald head, I'm like, really?
I'm like,
unknown wizard, really?
I'm like, there's nothing that's unknown about you.
I was like, what, did you make your hair disappear? That's the only wizarding you did. But yeah, no, that was cool. You know what really floored me with the Batman portion?
What was that?
Because they're looking for the Black Spider?
Yeah.
Right? Which kind of felt
the Spider Lady. I believe that's what they call her. Yeah, Spider Lady. Yeah.
But it reminded me of the Black Widow character from the 60s show.
Oh, right.
Remember?
Right.
But not only that, when Bruce Wayne eventually ends up in Metropolis, we see Alfred with him.
Yeah.
And we see his mother, who, of course, is named Martha.
Why did you say that name?
So the story is, Thomas got hit by the bullet.
Yeah.
He's dead as a doornail. Cue Hans Zimmer theme. Or actually Junkie XL, or it was probably Junkie XL, because he did the Batman theme for BBS. And so Martha's alive. She accompanies him to Metropolis. But Alfred was getting a little bit touchy-feely there with Bruce's mother.
Yeah. Alfred's got some, he's got some game. Yeah.
So, Stephen, my thing to you is, explain yourself, sir.
just some natural je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. So that was kind of, I'm like, okay, it's kind of weird to see that dynamic play out. Yeah. But also the interesting thing is that I think that the perception of Bruce here, at least the public persona of Bruce, is that the aloof part of his persona is that he can't hold a job down, even at his family company, that is Wayne Enterprises, which I think is being obviously done on purpose, like he's doing that on purpose, and I think that's a clever part of the persona that really is rarely kind of utilized.
That's a good point. Yeah. And go ahead, sir.
Go on, continue. Yeah.
I also want to mention, I really like this story idea of in Batman's world. Now, again, we're talking about two intersecting realities here, or realities that are told in an overlapping way. In the story that we see from Batman, we see Superman's pod that came to Earth, but he doesn't make it.
Yeah.
And we see the skeleton, like he never got to grow up. And I think we see somewhere in this issue, like a big chunk of kryptonite, like penetrated the pod and it killed him.
Yeah.
And so when it crashes on Earth, he's dead.
So I'm very confused, Donnie, in the sense that if that happened to Superman, is the Superman that we're seeing, is the Clark Kent that we're seeing not this? Like when Bruce Wayne, his mother, and Alfred go to Metropolis, is that not the same Bruce Wayne?
No, we're talking about two different timelines here.
So basically, because that's what I was trying to make sense of in the issue. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, so the Bruce Wayne we're seeing in the Batman we're seeing in the Bruce Wayne strips,
yes, is
not the Bruce Wayne that we're seeing in the
Superman story. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I thought that was the case, but I wasn't 100% sure. And I'm like,
yeah. And I'm not exactly sure where they're going with that.
Clearly a little confused. Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where they're going with that. But like I said, I like this because of the Golden Age vibe that it has.
Yeah.
You know, with both characters.
And because then you see, like when Clark Kent and Lois Lane go to Wayne Manor, and Lois is snooping and stumbles in the cave. We see, how can I describe him? A Brock Lesnar inspired, beefed up Alfred.
Well, it looks to me like he's wearing the Bane tech.
Yeah, Bane serum,
Yeah. That's a very interesting combination of characters.
About to attack Lois.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, this is really getting weird. And then things get even weirder because we transition to modern day, I'm assuming modern day continuity, and see present day Batman and Superman working together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's confusing, but a good kind of confusing, if that makes sense.
Well, and we should say that this story ends with Lois seemingly falling from one story, because you see her fall from one film strip to the other. Yeah. She falls from one timeline to the other.
Yeah. And then after that, because she's like, where am I? And then it transitions. They're out in space, and you have modern day Superman and modern day Batman. They're working together.
Mm-hmm.
And they're battling some alien creature or creatures.
Yeah.
And Superman makes the note of, we see he can sense the strips, like the film reels, and actually comments on that.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated.
Yeah, and it's a place called the Archive of Worlds.
Yeah.
And these aliens show up, and they said, you are committing sacrilege because you're trespassing here, and you shall be assimilated.
Yeah.
So that's what Superman and Batman are facing in the next episode, or the next issue.
So my question now is, are all the different versions of, like, Batman and Superman going to collide at some point and intersect in this story? Because that would be fascinating.
It could be. I mean, this could be a manifestation of the Omniverse that we've seen lately. Yeah. So
because I just want to tell DC right now, if you're listening to this or watching this, which you're not, but if you are,
well, hey, Jeff Thor watched us. You never know.
Yeah, that's right. So Jeff, if you're watching this, I know it doesn't have anything to do with your book, but if you're watching this, pass along to DC that I like, respectfully. I like to see a Batman book with a modern day Batman book with the Golden Age Batman, and a modern day and a Superman book, a modern Superman book telling like fresh new stories with the Golden Age Superman. I'd be down with that. So, like, embrace the Omniverse. Hashtag, because now everything's going to be hashtag. So, hashtag embrace the Omniverse and make these books a reality. But I love this story. I'm over the moon, intrigued and confused at the same time. The art is beautiful. The story technique is creative. I'm sold.
Yeah.
And if there was any question about why this book has always been, ever since 2003, one of my favorite books, this book will answer your question as to why. So, I mean, I'm not bearing the lead. What can we rate it now?
Go ahead.
All right. Story, even though I'm confused out of my brain, is a 5, and art is a 5. I loved it.
Likewise, a lot of it felt familiar and at the same time innovative. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of unusual stuff going on, and I liked the two timelines happening at the same time, and kind of contrasting Batman's world and Superman's world. Very entertaining.
Indeed, yeah. All right, cool.
All right.
Issue 2.
So now we move on to Action Comics number 1029.
All right.
And
it's a continuation of what happened in Superman, correct?
Yes, of the last issue that we reviewed on this, the previous vidcast. And there's not an abundance of dialogue in this book, but it is undertaking some really powerful subject matter of a child seeing the flaws in their parents. You see a lot of kind of inner monologue from John here about realizing that his dad is not immortal, that he's not a god, that he is a finite being. And I think that hits on the truth of a child as you grow into an adult in age, that eventually your parents will get frail or they will die, and you're seeing this through the eyes of Jonathan, who didn't think that was possible with his dad.
Yeah.
So it's just a really interesting angle to take with Superman.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a real world feeling that I think. I've never bought the lame excuse of, oh, you can't make Superman relatable. That's a pile of BS to me. And this issue shows that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think we've all had that feeling, that John's feeling about our parents. Mm-hmm. So it's just a story being told on a grander scale, with the parent being Superman.
Right.
But I love how I think at the end of the day, both Superman and John have reservations about, Superman doesn't want John going out to handle this breach and the creature by himself.
Creatures, there's a number of them that are attacking, yeah. And Superman is gravely injured. That happened in the previous issue, so go ahead, sir.
And John doesn't want Superman going out there because he doesn't think he can survive. But then they come to the understanding that, look, we're better off if we tackle this together. And there's that understanding that each of them are letting go of their fears to handle this issue head on.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an important step.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, go on.
One of the things it says here, and for the first time in their lives, talking about the child, they know that anything can happen. There's a lack of safety, and you see that John doesn't know exactly how this battle is going to turn out, because usually, I mean, Superman in a battle, Superman's going to survive. This time we're looking at a situation where that's not a surety.
Yeah, yeah. Even though the solicitations will tell you otherwise, because anyway. But and I liked, once they handled the situation, John is expressing bewilderment about, like, how did you survive? Like, all the stories in the future, the 31st century, said that this was your last battle.
Mm-hmm.
And Superman says, clearly it's obvious I survived because you were there with me. And that makes sense, because when John was seeing it in the future, because he had time traveled, he wasn't there for that. So from a continuity standpoint, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like it. At one point in there, he's he's telling the representatives, or who inside the ship there. He was like, when this is finished, you folks, Amanda Waller and I, we're gonna have a conversation that you won't like. So
yeah, I love how stern he is, but very respectful. He's like, when this is done, we're gonna have a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's in total dad mode there. When you get home from school, we're gonna have a conversation.
But I like how even though he's injured, he's trying to press on with the situation, and Jonathan is trying to call him back a little bit, say, you're not fine, you're injured. Yeah. You can't just push your way through this.
And I think part of that is Superman trying to make both the people in the ship and John feel at ease. Like, if he continues on soldiering on doing the Superman thing, they'll feel safe and that everything is going to be okay because Superman is there doing his thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, I liked it as well. But, yeah.
Yeah. And, I like that they go back out and they're trying to, like, repair the ship. And they continue to fight. These aliens keep pouring through this rift in space there. And Superman's continuing to fight on, but these things are hurting him. And again, we never get an answer to whether they have something in common with kryptonite, but I noticed that a lot of people online have made that connection, that they're all green. So are they emitting some type of radiation? Is that why they're able to hurt Superman?
Could be. I mean, it was never really explored.
Yeah.
And we'll have to wait and see if these creatures, rear their ugly head again.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But yeah, no, and then the end, there was a teaser with, somebody watching a monitor and one of his minions talking about, how frail Superman is and he's been wounded and this and that. Yeah. And if he's killable and all that, and then it's revealed that it's none other than the person that they're talking to is none other than Mongol.
Yeah. Which an interesting visual. By the way, Superman does survive. He makes it back to Earth, but again, he's obviously wounded, and for 2 issues now we see that he's wounded. Yeah. And Jonathan is thinking to himself, what if Dad's time is almost done here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you also see a flashback to when Clark, when he saw his dad, Jonathan Kent, fall when he was young. He fell off a ladder. And worrying that he was hurt, and so you see the kind of the parallel there.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was great because that's where all the sort of the voiceover, right?
Right.
Was basically, he got that from his father's teaching, which I thought was a nice way to do it. I like that.
Yeah, and the visual you were talking about, I actually for 1 second I thought it was Darkseid, but then I was like, no, that's not gray skin, that's yellow skin. I thought maybe it was because he has Darkside-ish armor on. It's not a usual Mongol look, but then it mentions War World Rising, so obviously that's Mongol. So
yeah,
who's a villain that I'm really fond of, always have been. So
yeah, so you're gonna I think you're gonna enjoy the Action Comics run then for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess we've covered everything, right?
Yeah. There is
All
a
right.
backup story with Midnighter, but it doesn't have. Again, it's not Superman related.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't have Superman at all, so we'll just pass over it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So again, story, art. Where you at with your rating?
Story, I'm going to say 5. Again, I really like being able to see this happen. Obviously this is tied to Future State, and I will say this though, and this is not a knock against Philip Hester. He's a great artist, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think this art style meshes perfectly with the story that's being told.
Agreed.
It's a great art style, but I think it's better fitted for like a fun Superman story,
Yeah.
rather than something that is kind of building towards a grim event.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I like I said, I respect his talent as an artist, but I'm actually glad that next month, or I guess it would be this month. As of this
Yeah, it's April.
Yeah, we're gonna see two different artists taking over both Action Comics and Superman. The writer, Philip Kennedy Johnson, will stay the same, and he's done top-notch work so far on both issues. But yeah, I'm glad that there's going to be an artistic change on both sides.
Yeah. So art, I'm going to give it a 3.5. It's not, it's high quality art. I just don't think that it necessarily meshes well with what the story that they're trying to tell at this point.
Yeah. So for me, the story is a 4.5. I really, really liked it. Although, I hope eventually we get some more explanation on the creatures, because it felt like something was lacking in terms of who they are, what they are, their origins, all that kind of stuff. I would have wanted to know that, but again, this was only a 2-issue story, so I understand that they didn't have time for all that. So, but hopefully in the future that'll be expanded upon. And then the art, again, it's not my cup of tea either. I respect the talent, it just doesn't fit the story for me. So I'll give it a 3.
Yeah.
So hey, 7.5 out of 10 in total. It ain't that bad. Ain't bad. So
yeah, this was still a very worthwhile issue. I really like this story that they are telling right now. So very intriguing. Definitely go pick up this issue from DC Comics. So yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Any of these so far, we're about to touch on number 4, and that is the Flash number 768. Yeah. These are high quality comics. So
indeed. So with that, let's finish off with the Fastest Man Alive, the Flash.
Yeah, I like that this opens up with kind of the backstory of Wally here. You see him getting his powers, his partnership with Barry, his marriage, becoming a father, and and some of the problems that have happened within the use of the Speed Force, and that's a good way to set up the moment that happens here, is that Wally wants to quit the Justice League. He wants to give his powers up. Yeah. And we left the last issue with him saying that, and so we see it's Batman and Hawkgirl and Naomi and Green Arrow, Superman and Barry, and Barry's like, what do you mean you want to quit? So yeah, it's a good way to open the book.
But first of all, I love the flashback to one of the Flash's origins. That was really cool, and I liked that it was more of a montage.
Yeah.
So it didn't take up pages and pages of story. And look, I can understand Wally's point of view. Like, he's been through literally everything imaginable, and a lot of it is horrible. So now
and we've seen this before, heroes evaluating their personal lives against, being a hero, and sometimes they decide they need to walk away for a while.
So the idea that he wants to, now that he's got them back, wants to spend time with his wife and kids, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But also, I understand Barry's point of view too.
Yeah.
Because he had just basically said, you're going to take over for me while I go do this multiverse thing.
Yeah.
With President Superman and his buddies, Yeah. So, yeah, I understood both points of view, and it was very well written, and it brought about a lot of tension between the Flash and Oliver.
Well, yeah, and exactly. Oliver jumps in on Wally's side. He's like, look, if he's had enough, let him walk away.
Yeah.
Kind of harkened me back to the classic the arguments that Hal Jordan would have with Green Arrow.
Yeah, definitely. And all of that, all of Oliver's point of view stems from what happened with Roy, Heroes in Crisis. So again, nice callback to a previous story.
Yeah,
and continuity.
So you kind of see him walking through the city, and Wally is talking about that. He thinks the point in time has come that he needs to give his powers up.
Yeah.
He needs to sever his connection with the Speed Force.
And Barry agrees because he wants what's best for Wally. And so they come up with this idea of separate one last race, so that Barry can separate Wally from the Speed Force.
And the one page where they start racing, I never get tired of seeing those visuals with the Flash. I mean, they are some of the most striking visuals in comics. Just the red of the costume, the muscles in motion. You can feel the energy, and that one page spread there where Barry's like, I'm the fastest man alive, and Wally's like, yeah, we'll see about that. When they start to race, I mean, that would make a perfect poster,
Yeah, and also, you know what I liked about it too? As they're on the street, like all the bystanders are like, oh, they're gonna race, and this and that. And then you hear one guy say, James, that's a bad outfit. The line from Superman the movie. I thought that was a great, clever callback.
Yeah.
So the writer of the book, who was, let's give credit, a shout out to the writer, who was the.
Who was the writer? Yeah, we definitely should give credit. So. Well, this is some fascinating podcasting we're doing here right here.
Oh, yeah.
Because we forgot.
We're so unprepared. It's.
You always ask me the one question. I always take, just.
I gotta keep you guys on task.
A massive amount of notes, and then you ask me the one question. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have answered that one.
You, Steve, and I tweeted at the writer the other day, but let me see if I can find. Let's see who finds it first.
Jeremy Adams.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, you did it. Yeah, that was a clever line, and I told him so. A clever reference to that movie. Well done.
And I like the fact that you see them as they're running along. They're still like solving crimes and things like that. They're still stopping villains as they run, even though they have a goal in mind as to what they're doing here. So
agreed. Yeah.
We see Ocean Master in this. That's unusual. Yeah.
I like how you see it's like a cameo from. They're going across different places in the DC universe. I like that.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, and Ocean Master, he's definitely shocked to see them there.
And he's like, what are these two? I can just imagine Ocean. Well, it's bad enough with my brother. What are these two idiots doing now?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I really like the way this is drawn with all the motion lines.
Oh.
And oh man.
The art, my God, was it incredible. So now I'm going to say it again. Who's the artist on this book?
time I have it pulled up. So the artist on this book, Marco Santucci, who's one of them. It's Darko Lafuente, Brandon Peterson, and Marco Santucci are all credited with the art.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, all three of you, well done. I mean, the art across this book is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Some of the best art I've seen.
And Marco is I believe he's another one of the artists working on the Green Lantern book coming up. So that makes me very happy. So
yeah, agreed.
And,
All right. So they try to separate in their big race. They're trying to separate.
Yeah. Well, and then we see kind of this like massive burst of energy. And all of a sudden, Wally like explodes out of his costume. He sort of
disintegrates.
He like turns into like lightning, like the Speed Force lightning himself.
And Wally fans were all holding their breath and thinking, "Not again." But we see that he's not gone.
No,
he's not dead.
Yeah, but Barry's stripped of his speed.
Yeah. And so are the other speedsters.
Yeah.
You know, Jay, and the other two, which Wallace, and Max Mercury, I think was the other one.
Yeah,
that's not
right. That was another. That was not in this issue, but yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah, they're all without speed.
Yeah. But what we see is that Wally has been sent back to prehistoric times.
Yes.
See, that's why you needed to stay around for this vidcast. See, that now you understand my joke at the top of the program.
Yeah, exactly. And he's being chased. No, wait, actually, we should clarify. Not only is he back in prehistoric time, he is inhabiting the body of a caveman.
Yeah.
He's pulling a Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman 1984, except Wonder Woman ain't around to look all good looking and play kissy face with Wally. So
that's a good way to say it, kissy face. Let me make a correction. You do actually see a hologram of Jay and Max Mercury and Wallace.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned. Yeah, there were those people.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
There you go. Yeah.
Don't try and discredit my knowledge. I know some stuff.
You're right. Yeah.
Very few things, but I know some stuff.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, that was from a previous issue where we saw them lose their speed. Yeah.
Right. So the fact that he's done a quantum leap and entered the body of a caveman, compound that with, he's in the time of the dinosaur, but making it even worse is he's being chased by a velociraptor.
Yeah.
Which is the obvious choice because velociraptor, speed, velocity, the whole speed angle is very important.
Well, it's infected with the Speed Force too.
Yeah.
We see that, and I gotta point out I think maybe my favorite visual was Wallace running over this dinosaur that I guess is a Brachiosaurus. He says "yabba dabba doo."
Yeah, he does the whole Flintstone thing. I couldn't stop laughing. That was hilarious. But honestly, if we were in that situation after crapping our pants, which I would personally do, I would be hard pressed not to try that. Come on, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Any self-respecting fan of the Flintstones would try that.
Yeah.
And weirdly, Barry is able to establish a connection.
Yeah, we see it's Mr. Terrific and Green Arrow and Barry back in the present trying to communicate with Wallace and bring him back.
You know what my favorite part of that? Having Mr. Terrific, Oliver, and Barry together.
What's that?
And, doing scientific things.
Science bros.
Yeah, exactly. The best part is nowhere to be found were Felicity or Iris. It was great. I'm like, seeing this trifecta of characters together, being intelligent, and not having those two, crosses to bear with them, talking nonsense. Oh, yes. I was so happy. It was unbelievable. Anyway, I just had to throw that in.
Poor Iris.
I like those characters, just not the way they're used sometimes. They don't belong in starting that. And again, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're women, because there are women that are far more intelligent than me out there. God knows it's true, in various fields. But I'm sorry. Iris West and Felicity Smoke, as they're presented on those two shows, have no business being involved with this kind of shenanigans.
I had to, for those of you who don't know, Adam's really annoyed by the line, "We are the Flash."
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's the worst line ever. Look, it's right up there with "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman," and the other one of my favorites, I can't make a constipated face when I'm not constipated, but imagine a constipated face and then follow it up with, "No one stays good in this world, Lois," and then fly off to kill Batman. Yeah.
So anyway, but Steven sent him a picture this week, and it was Iris being where she had replaced Superman. It was a manipulation, and she said, "We are the Steppenwolf." Steven sent him that picture, and I thought it was hilarious.
I'm never going to get over that line. It's so stupid. And a professional writer wrote it. Anyway, I was so happy to see neither of those two ladies there. And it continue. So
okay, so I just want you to know that it cracks me up whenever that line is going to be said. Whether or not it'll be said again, I don't know, but I can just imagine you in front of your TV.
Well, something's going to get thrown at the TV if it is. I'll tell you that much.
So, I like Iris though.
I like Iris as a character. I like Candice Patton. It just certain way, the way they used to write her a couple of seasons back was horrendous.
Right, I understand. But I love the Flash.
She's much better now, though. She's written much better now.
We'll talk about this more when we cover the Flash on the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network.
And look, just to prove how much I like Candice Patton. Candice Patton, who plays Iris West on the Flash, is on the list. Now, I realize that when I do that, you can't see my hand. You may not be able to see the pen.
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just want to point out that if all my multiverse wives got together and had like a council of multiverse wives at a meeting, first of all, I'd be screwed. But second of all, at that point, Candice Patton could say, "We are the multiverse wives," 100%.
Oh, man.
Carry on. Rant over. I've derailed the episode long enough.
Okay, so back in prehistoric times, Wally is still getting chased by this Speed Force-infused Velociraptor, and a lot of really cool visuals here. One of my favorites was kind of a callback to Jurassic Park. He's hiding, and all of a sudden the thing like comes from his side.
Yeah.
I like that callback. And but then all of a sudden the thing just explodes.
Right. But to me, before just to go back a step, when he makes the connection with Wally or with Barry, and they're able to communicate, Barry's like, "What happened? Tell me where you are." And he's like, "Well, something along the lines of, I'm in the middle of some very Jurassic Park vibes," or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And Barry's like, "Wait, you're in the 90s?" He's like, "No, prehistoric times." Because he said Jurassic Park. So he's like, "Wait, the 90s?" Yeah. I was laughing at that. That made me chuckle.
Yeah.
Then dinosaur explodes.
Dinosaur explodes, and actually, like, all of reality explodes around Wally.
Yeah.
And we see that he's sent into the future, and now, we talked about that he was in a caveman body. He's sent into the future, far into the future, and he is in Bart Allen, a.k.a. Impulse's body.
Yeah. And that was intriguing, because, I mean, I like Impulse.
Right.
So
I like what he says there too. He goes, "The costume is snug."
Yeah, very tight, by the way. But yeah. But that's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I got to be honest, Donnie. I love this book. Absolutely. everything from the writing to the art. We've given some high scores today, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we gave Batman Superman a 10, a 5 and 5, so 10.
Yeah.
And you know how much I love Batman and Superman, like, so you'd think that the book that got 5 out of 5 both categories would be the book of the night, if you want to call it that. The Flash, 768, was the book of the night.
Oh no, I would agree. In interest of full disclosure, I usually tend more towards the Flash over Batman. But that being said, first of all, again, I want to emphasize that all of these are high quality comics.
Yeah.
But I do think that this story and the way it is developing is very interesting. And this was an unexpected turn to all of a sudden see Wally inhabiting Impulse's body in the future, being menaced by a Dominator. Yeah, very interesting. So
yeah, the whole idea of this quantum leap meets the Flash idea is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I give this book such high marks, because I just finished. I said earlier, Joshua Williamson for about 5 years was absolutely killing it on the Flash. Mm-hmm. Top-notch stories, 5 years in a row, not a bad issue in the bunch. So anybody following his run had a monumental task to impress me. And Jeremy Adams, right? Is the I got it right?
Yeah.
It's only one issue, but he's delivering. So I'm blown away impressed. So well done, sir. Keep up the good work. I clearly haven't buried the lead. I'm going to give it 5 for the story, 5 for the art. It's another 10 out of 10 book on this episode. Donnie, where are you at?
Same. I had a great time with that. I loved it. Like I said, I like to see how this is developing with what we already know about Wally from Future State. A lot of interesting stuff is going to happen between now and then. So
agreed.
Yeah. However, do you know what my absolute favorite thing about these 4 issues was? My absolute favorite thing.
What's that?
That is the DC Nation Spotlight Green Lantern advertisement at the end of this book.
How did I know that was going to be like? I just pretended I didn't for the sake.
Yeah, because at the end, you get to see that advertisement that launches next week with Jeffrey Thorne and Dexter Soy and Marco Santucci, and starring Joe Mullane, John Stewart, Kelly Quintella. This is going to be interesting, and Simon Bass. So
we're going to have to figure something out, because we're going to have to do if none of the other books we're covering are out, we may have to do a special, because it's the launch of a Green Lantern podcast. No, that's our show. Because it's a launch of a new series, a new Green Lantern series.
Yes.
We may have to do, if there are no other comics that we're covering when we sit down to do WrestleMania, we have to do a special 1-issue episode if need be.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
We'll make it happen, but we're going to be covering that Green Lantern book because we're both extremely excited for what Jeff Thorne.
I've gotten more and more excited. And by the way, I read the little preview that was out, the 7-page preview. So
I was thinking of avoiding it, but I'm probably going to bite the bullet and look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that'll be in our next episode of Comics Corner or the DC Comics Chronicles. Whether other issues are attached to that, we'll see when that batch of issues comes out. I'll take a look and see. But at the very least, we definitely will be covering that. And but what an episode! We had great comics to cover across the board.
Yep.
We encourage you to support the comic industry by either buying them at your local comic book shop or Comixology if you prefer digital. But that brings us to the end of the show. But you can always talk comics with Donnie or I on social media. Donnie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter as the Emerald Enthusiast, where I do Green Lantern product reviews. I'm always down to talk about comics. Also, hit me up on my YouTube channel, where I have lots of videos reviewing Green Lantern products and comic book related products. So find me there, the Emerald Enthusiast, on Twitter.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Adam_LeafsFan or through the show Twitter account at MMNPDC. We also have a Facebook account. The link will be in the video below or in the description box below. Click that. It's not going to be in the video. It'll be accompanying the video. Click the link. Ask for permission to join the group. I'll add you, and we can gladly continue the conversation about all things comics over there if Facebook is more your speed. But until next time, remember that DC Comics are forever. From the first issue you've read to the last. So long, everybody.
So long, everyone.
I don't have my ring on, or else I'd do it. I'm not going to fist, what the hell?